Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, it is true. I am here to accept the coaching job at the University of Tennessee. Are y'all in? Guys, my name is Coach Michael Burt, and I actually spent a decade coaching women's basketball at a place called Riverdale High School in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Anybody know where Riverdale High School is? And I do believe exactly what the title of my next book, my current book is I do believe everybody needs a good coach in life. How many of you have ever had a good coach at some point in your life? Just look around the room and tell me it's not true that when you had that good coach that you experienced the most growth you have ever had in your life. Now that coach didn't have to be an athletic coach. It could have been a business coach. It could have been a mentor. It could have been a broker. But I guarantee you that coach did three things for you. They had conversations with you you may or may not wanted to have, right? They pushed you to do some things you may or may not wanted to do, but a good coach will help you become something you did not think you could become. Now, my coaching journey started at the age of 15 years old because I think there's two very important days of your life. The day you're born and the day you find your purpose. And different people find their purpose at different points in their life. At 15 years old, I was growing up in a small town of Woodbury. Where's all small town people at, right? Grew up in a small town, less than 2,500 people inside the city limits, less than 10,000 people inside the county lines. And I still remember the most exciting thing we did in my small town when I was 15 was the whole town got together to watch them build a Hardee's. It was a real exciting time. We did not have a McDonald's, we didn't have a Sonic, we didn't have anything. And I was pumping gas, and people would literally park their cars and watch them construct a Hardee's because we didn't have that. That was a big deal. But I want you to go back in your life to where a person said something to you. 4 words. I believe in you. Think about when you got into real estate. When you wanted to become a real estate professional. Was it because somebody, somewhere, believed in you? And they said those words. You can do this. You can be good. So at 15 years old, I got a phone call from a Little League baseball coach, and he said, I'm coaching a junior pro basketball team. Will you help me coach this team? He said, I don't know anything about basketball, but I know a lot about baseball. And I said, sure, I would love to help you coach this team. See, that one phone call led to my life's work. What I would be doing for the next 25 years of my life, which is coaching people. That one phone call, that one affirmation, that one person. So I got dressed up in a suit to go down there and coach junior pro basketball. I looked like a little Pat Riley coaching junior pro, right? I was 15 coaching 9 to 12-year-olds, and I was so passionate. I was so on fire. I had such an irresistible belief for motive or action that I like to tell people I was so passionate I actually got ejected from a junior pro basketball game, okay? I got 3 technical fouls and a standing ovation, okay? Not because they liked me, but because they didn't like me. And they was like, who is this kid? But I was turned on to something by somebody. You see, we're going to talk today about building a real estate business that is dynamic. And when I say dynamic, I'm saying attractive. Where leads are chasing you, you are not chasing them. You are not static, you are dynamic. You have that same irresistible belief for motive or action that I felt when I was coaching. You remember why you got into this, because now we coach hundreds and hundreds of real estate professionals, mortgage originators, insurance agents, and here's what I hear a lot. Well, I used to do a lot of these things, Coach. I used to prospect an hour or 2 a day. I used to call my past clients all the time. I used to be engaged, but at some point I got static. I got stuck. I got in a rut. I got complacent. And Les Brown always said, used to be's and wannabes don't make any honey. I want you to remember this, because today is about recommitting. It's about rejuvenating. It's about recalibrating. It's about coming back. So at 18 years old, I went back to my small elementary school, and I walked into the principal's office, and this is where I learned my first sales technique. As I walked into the principal's office, and I asked to be the head boys basketball coach at that elementary school. Now, they tell us in sales that it takes 7 to 15 touches, 80% of the time, to convert a prospect to a buyer. How many times do you think most real estate agents go as it relates to prospects?
3.
Stats typically tell us 2. If you told me I could win 80% of the time if I went 7 touches, 7 to 15 touches, then I'm going to play the percentages, right? So I went back on day 1, didn't get the job. Went back on day 2, didn't get the job. I went back for 14 straight days to get that job. Finally, on day 14, he said, look, kid, you got the job because nobody else wants it, okay? And so I get this job, and I'm coaching this little bitty elementary school, and I'm coaching the kids, and I'm building my office, and I'm getting the kids from place to place. And in the very first year, we won a state championship, and the principal came to me, and he said, kid, you did such a great job coaching this year. We think we would like to pay you. Now, I want you to think about this concept. And I'm like, great, how much are you going to pay me? He says $199.50 for the year, okay? Now, you know you love doing something when you do it for $199.50. Now, how many of you believe that every day with your current customer is an interview for your next customer? Now, I'm going to give you some stats today that I really want you to think about, because the average real estate transaction should be worth 5.7 referrals over the lifetime of the consumer. That's not my stat. That's National Association of Realtors stat. But here's the cold hard truth. 98% of agents never call a customer back once they put them in a home. And I want you to start really thinking about this. Every day with your current customer is an interview for your next customer. Are you with me? And if you begin to understand these things, see, I was learning these things at 18 years old. Every day in my current job is an interview for my next job. 7 to 15 touches, 80% of the time. Persistence, consistency, focus, value. I was learning this at 18 years old. So at 19 years old, I get a phone call from the second largest high school in Tennessee. That was Riverdale. And on the other line was his coach. And he said, Coach, I've heard about you. Anytime you hear that, what is that? It's a referral. And a referral is when great people tell other great people how great you were. You don't want lousy people telling other lousy people how great you were, right? Your best referrals come from your best clients. I've heard about you. He said, I've heard you're this young little whippersnapper that can flat out coach. Would you come down to Riverdale and be one of my assistant coaches? And I asked what any good 19-year-old would ask, which is what? I said, how much are you going to pay me? And these words actually came out of my mouth, and I'm embarrassed to say this today, but here's what I said next. I'm already making $199.50. I mean, you may not be able to afford me. And he laughed, and he said, kid, that's funny. He said, we're going to pay you $2,000. And I thought, 10 times my income, right? $2,000, man, I will be there tonight. Now, I want you to remember this. What's the largest check you've ever cashed in real estate? And where did it start? And where did it originate? And who did it come from? And why haven't you gone back there and got another one? You with me? You see, several years ago I had a coach, and at that time I was coaching the largest home builders in the country. I was coaching the largest home builders in the country in 08, 09. You remember those times? And they were coming to me because they were depressed. They were looking at bankruptcy. They were laying people off. They did not know how to sell homes. And they said, look, we've tried every real estate trick we can. We're going to come get somebody outside of the industry with a fresh perspective and come in and help us sell these homes. So I went in and began coaching these big home builders. I'm talking about home builders that were building 700, 800 homes a year. Privately owned individuals that were in 04, 05 selling 40 homes a week. In 08, they were selling 4 a week. Some of those people, I had to go to their house and get them out of bed in the morning. I had to keep their confidence up because even people that were worth 40, 50, 60 million dollars had lost every bit of their confidence. And I would say, we got to get you in the office. We got to get the momentum going. We got to push the sales team. We got to market these properties. We will find a way to sell these homes, but we can't do it if we're in a contraction. Just always remember this. When you get scared, the natural tendency is to contract and retreat, which means you back up. You start cutting things. Right? I would tell you never contract when you get scared. When you get scared, push harder. Exert more force. Exert more energy. So I go there and I start coaching this basketball team at 19 years old, and I'm at Riverdale High School, which is the second largest high school in Tennessee. And we started to win a lot of games because I was teaching my players things other people weren't teaching their kids. I was teaching my players the 7 habits of highly effective people, and the principles of good to great, and the 5 dysfunctions of teams. Now imagine your 14-year-old daughter playing for me, and I'm teaching her all of these things at 14 and 15 and 16. So we begin to win, and we begin to win. We begin to win. And as the head coach at 22 years old, people began asking me, like, what are you doing with these kids? Because, man, it is working. And I said, I don't have time to talk about it. I'm just going to write a book on it, and I'll write a book about how we're engineering people to win. Now, here's what's funny. I wrote that first book at 25, and moms and dads would drop their daughters off to me, and they all said the same thing. How many of you have children in here? They all said the same thing. Coach, my daughter has a lot of, what do you think they said? Potential. Every now and then they said issues, and they were right about that too. They say, Coach, now my daughter, she got a lot of potential. She just needs something. What do you think they said she needed? Guidance, discipline, focus, structure, accountability. And I would ask those parents this question, because this is very, very critical. I would ask those parents, you're telling me your daughter's got a lot of potential, is that right? And they would say, yes, that's what I'm telling you, Coach. And I would say, well, I'm going to ask you a very tough question, and here's the question I'm going to ask you, but you're not going to like it. And they'd say, no, Coach, it's okay, ask me anything. I'd say, is your daughter watching you reach your potential? And that's what they would say. Oh, Coach. Boy, I didn't know you were going to be coaching me, right? And I would say potential is just kinetic energy that is stored until utilized. It is the idea of embryonic growth that we'll be better today than we were yesterday. We'll be better tomorrow than we are today. But I said, I don't believe we can reach our own potential. And you know why I don't believe we can reach our own potential? Without the help of another person, we will always contract to a place of comfort. Do you agree? Without a person pushing us, without a person believing in us, without a person holding us accountable, left to our own devices, we will contract to a place of comfort. So I would tell them, your daughter needs to see you dreaming, you striving, you pushing. See, my 5-year-old daughter needs to see me pushing and striving and dreaming. She don't need me telling her she's got potential. She needs me helping her to realize that potential. You understand? And so they would send their daughters to me, and over 4 years, we would help them activate that potential. And we would coach them in their body, in their mind, in their heart, in their spirit. And 4 years later, I would pop those players out, and I would say, your daughter will be able to do anything she wants to do when I'm done coaching her. She wants to run for President of the United States, her confidence will be high. Her skills will be strong. Her knowledge will be deep. She will be able to do anything she wants to do when I'm done with her, because we have our own little greatness factory here. And we are manufacturing greatness. Now, 25 years old, I write this book, and so companies begin to call me. And they say, will you come speak to our people? Will you come over and motivate, which means to move, our people? And I'd go over there and speak, and they'd say this, Coach, we got a lot of good people, and they got a lot of no issues. Y'all got to pay attention. They say we got a lot of good people, and they got a lot of potential. They just need something. And it was just like I was listening to a mom and dad. What do you think they said they needed? What do you think most real estate agents need? Guidance, structure, focus. Say the magic word. Accountability. Discipline. And the number one thing I kept hearing, confidence. See, when you don't have confidence, you know what you won't do as a real estate agent? You won't make outbound calls to strangers. You won't go to networking events because you're afraid of getting rejected. You won't call back people that you think there's not a deal. See, when you don't have confidence, you will contract. You will not move forward. And if you're ever going to be great in this profession, guess the one thing you need? You're really selling confidence. You're not selling houses. You're selling contagious confidence. That when I place my future in your hands, you're going to handle it. So I want you to think about your potential as you're here today, and there's a whole lot inside of you that you haven't even tapped into yet. Because you don't have a person in your life that is pushing you, that is challenging you, that is holding you accountable. You see, we need that accountability because we all start with good intention, don't we? You're going to leave here today and you know what you're going to say? I'm going to prospect 2 hours a day every day. I'm going to call all of my past customers, even the ones I haven't talked to in 17 years. I'm going to call all the, right? You're going to leave here motivated. We start with good intention. And then we fall off the wagon. Why? Lack of discipline, lack of structure, don't know what to do, too many things going on, and then we feel guilty about it. That is the vicious cycle we live. You know what we're grieving? See, grief is actually associated with grieving something. You're actually guilty. You feel guilty about something, and you know what you feel guilty about? Your own lost potential. Here's where I could be playing. Here's where I'm actually playing. And there is a gap between where I am versus where I should be. So here's what I would tell you today. Potential is not age specific. It's not reserved for your kids. It's not up to 18 or 19 years old. No matter how old you are in this room today, you got more potential. Not long ago, I coached a 71-year-old songwriter. And he called me and he said, Coach, I don't know if you'll take me on or not. But I'm 71 years old and I still got one more good swing in me. Will you coach me? Now, you see how inspiring that was? And I would go down to his house and coach him. And he thought I was coaching him, but he was really coaching me because he was giving me that fuel. I'm watching a guy 71 who's trying to find another gear. And so for you, today is a lot about potential. It's a lot about potential. So here's some of my core beliefs. Number one, I don't think we can see the picture when we're inside the frame. We can't see the picture when we're inside the frame. We're too emotional. We're too biased toward it. We need another person looking at our life, looking at our business, going, hey, what's going on with you? And sometimes people that don't drink the Kool-Aid. Sometimes people that do not tell you the same thing over and over and over, okay? We need a fresh perspective, all right? We are creatures of comfort, and sometimes we need a catalyst. We need another person to walk into our life and say, hey, you could be doing this. You're doing 2 deals a month, you could be doing 4 deals a month. But you're missing structures. Now, when you think about it, I want to talk about states. Because right now, every one of your real estate practices are in one of 3 states. Your practice right now, and this comes back to you personally, is in a dynamic state. Give me some words for dynamic. Growing, vibrant, alive, refreshed, rejuvenated, hungry, curious. It is dynamic. How attractive is that to the market? You think people want to work with a dynamic real estate agent? Yes or no? Yes. But far too many people allow themselves to get in that middle state. So there was a period of time where you were growing, and then what happened? You got static. Give me some words that associate with static. Complacent. You know what the definition of complacent is? A gradual settling to a place of mediocrity. Sound sexy? When I send my daughter off to school in the morning, I don't tell her, hey now sweetheart, I want you to go out there today, go to school, and gradually settle to a place of mediocrity. Right? But then there's entropic. Entropic is disintegration, dying. Now, your business today is in one of these 3 states, and it's probably because of you. Now, let me go back to my story of coaching because 25 years old, I was working 80 hours a week. I used to work 8 hours a day on Sunday. I would get up and go to church on Sunday morning. I would go straight to my office and I would watch film. I would prepare, and I did that from 19 to 31. Year after year after year, building, dynamic, building. And then we won a championship, which was the first championship in the history of the school. But I was static. I was mechanical. I was borderline burnout. And you know what burnout means? Loss of all joy or passion. I'm 31 years old. I've pushed. I've achieved everything you can achieve. We are now the #1 team in Tennessee. I'm voted the best coach in Tennessee. And I'm doing all this stuff, but man, I got nothing in the tank. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I've gone 80 hours a week. I've neglected my family. I've neglected my friends, all in pursuit of one thing, winning a championship. I was basically married to that for 12 years. And we did achieve what we set out to achieve. But at 31 years old, I retired and walked away at the peak of my game because of this. I told myself at the moment I feel static or entropic, I'm going to walk away from this. The minute I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, the minute I'm not enjoying, I'm going to walk. So I got to find a way to get back dynamic. Now, when you think about these states, here's what's interesting. My grandfather worked his whole life with his hands. He built houses. He owned a cabinet shop. He sold cattle. He was dynamic. Every time I went to see him, he was telling me things. He was dynamic. And then he decided to retire. And my mother told me it was almost as if the day after my grandfather retired, he quickly jumped from a dynamic state to an entropic state. She said his mind went downhill. His body went downhill. Everything in his life went downhill. Now, I want to tie a correlation to this, because guess what he ran out of? He ran out of purpose. You see, my mother works in a long-term health care facility, which is a nursing home, and she said there's 3 reasons at the end of a person's life a person passes away outside of natural causes. She said they run out of love because nobody comes to see them. She said number 2, they run out of money because they don't have any retirement. So when they run out of money, they run out of good care. And number 3, she said they run out of purpose. They run out of something to wake up and look forward to. You understand what I'm saying? So what happens is when we get static and complacent, we are at a stuck state. And when, I don't know about you, but anytime I've been in a stuck state, I've needed another person to come along and wake me up. I needed another person to come along and wake up my energy. I needed another person to come along and reframe my thought process. I needed something to be a catalyst. Because is it not true you could be up here and be complacent just like you're complacent down here? Yes or no? You could be at the top of your real estate profession today. And I'm coaching agents doing 100, 200 deals. And they can be bored, stuck, in a rut. Their mind is wandering elsewhere. They're not engaged with their work. So I want you to remember these 3 states. Look at the common denominator. It's energy. Energy is the common denominator. Dynamic, static, entropic. These are the 3 states that we're all living in at any given time, okay? Now, when you look at it, here's words to describe dynamic. Alive, vibrant, on fire. The word rejuvenate means to make young again. Attractive, curious. Okay? Curious. I'm interested in my potential. These are dynamic states. Now, look at the next state. Look at static. Bored, stuck, complacent, in a rut, disengaged, mechanical. Mechanical is I'm just going through the motion. If I burn the engine long enough in mechanical, guess where I end up? Burnout, which is loss of all joy or passion. Right? Now, I want you to think about these things, because what we're trying to do today is help you build a dynamic real estate practice where people are calling you. You see, when I first started my practice, I had to go chase. And chasing anything sucks, doesn't it? Anything that feels chased does what? Yeah. So I said, what if I could build a practice that was attractive, where people are calling me? My phone is ringing. My schedule is booked, right? And so basically what I began to see after coaching all of these people was these things. We all have missing structures. And a missing structure is a void, a gap, a hole, that if we just filled it properly, we could expand. But here's the problem. We can't see the picture when we're inside the frame. So many times you can't see your missing structures. Can you see it in another business? Yes or no? You can walk in and look at another person's business and immediately see they don't do this, they don't do this, they don't do this. But you can't see it in your own business because you got these blinders on, this emotionality. So here's some stats I want you to be thinking about all day today. 67% of people use the very first real estate agent that contacts them. They don't use the best one. They don't use the best looking one. They don't use the most experienced one. Which one do they use? Is speed to lead important for you? Yes or no? You see, when you understand how the brain thinks, when you understand how the brain thinks, here's what I want you to get. I can want something this morning and completely be disassociated with it by this afternoon. That means I wanted this house. It's called object impermanence. It's like my 5-year-old daughter. She wants it, she wants it, she wants it. She's pitching a fit, she's pitching a fit. Who's this good-looking Regions person on this bottle of water? That's good, that's sexy, that's good. Here's my point. My daughter wants it, she wants it, she wants it. she's having a fit to have it, and then she turns her head for a second, we can move it. Guess what? She forgot what? See, I wanted the house, I wanted this house, I wanted this house, I'm looking at it, I want it. I call on a Saturday night at 7 o'clock because that's when people make big buying decisions on the weekend. Yes or no?